Good morning. I'm Jaiden Rose with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you live into the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas for a possible plea bargain that we're expecting. The family of Jaiden Rose Rentas. She was just 15 years old when she was found shot to death in a car that was running, windshield wipers on. It was found in a vacant lot in what they call Brooklyn Center, part of the Brooklyn Heights area of Cleveland. That young man you see there was 16 at the time. He is now 17, Stephen Fisher. He's being tried as an adult. The charges, long list of charges: murder, involuntary manslaughter, felony assault, tampering with evidence, receiving stolen property, grand theft auto, offenses against a human corpse, and improperly handling firearms in a motor vehicle. Now, we've been told by family members of the 15-year-old of, this is the victim here, Jaiden Rose Rentas, that this is going to be a plea bargain. And you see a lot of the family starting to file into court. Now, it's a little bit uneven in Cuyahoga County when there's a plea bargain as to whether or not they will move into immediate sentencing, or if the judge will have the sentencing at a later date. We'll have to wait and see what plays out here. We're waiting for the judge to come into the courtroom. Obviously, family members of Rentas have just made their way in. And you see, I believe that's perhaps one of the judge, one of the courtroom advocates, victim advocates, helping them find their way in. But again, you see this young man at just 17, but yet the county tried him as an adult. And it looks like we might be getting a sidebar here, which could be a little bit of a delay as we see the lead prosecutor in this case head back. As we wait for this, we have a story from our Michelle Nix that I believe ran Friday because of this case. And it sounds like we're now being told that somebody cannot be shown. We're going to wait and see what the instructions being given here. And it does sound like we have just been told, even though this proceeding had already gotten underway, that we are not allowed to show perhaps the 17-year-old. They may be, that may be part of this plea, but we're going to be checking on that. Yeah, we're getting word from the courtroom that that's a pretty rare move, that even though he's 17, he's being charged as an adult. As to why all of a sudden, if he's facing adult charges, that's normally what takes sort of this mask off of showing juveniles. That's generally the rule. I can see some of our staff in court asking why this last second ruling to not show the 17-year-old. His mugshot has been put out after he had been tried as an adult. We saw him in court through the process of being his initial arraignment. And in fact, while we straighten this out, I'm going to play that story from you from our Michelle Nix from Friday, that you're going to see the 17-year-old in this story because he was arraigned as an adult, and that is generally where this takes a difference. And in fact, we get the all rise, so let's just stay with court here.
This court's in session. The Honorable Judge Cassandra Carter-Williams may be seated. Make sure all phones are off and muted and no outbursts during court.
It looks like the bailiff might be asking again about the juvenile. I'm not sure if we're going to get a ruling here from the judge before we get underway.
All right, we're hearing the case of State of Ohio versus Stephen Fisher, and that is case number 686436. This is a 12-count indictment. Count 1, murder, in violation of 2903.02A with a 1 and 3 year firearm specification attached with forfeiture of weapon. Count 2, murder, in violation of 2903.02B with a 1 and 3 year firearm specification attached with forfeiture of weapon. Count 3, involuntary manslaughter, a felony of the first degree, in violation of 2903.04A with a 1 and 3 year firearm specification attached with forfeiture of weapon also attached. Count 4, involuntary manslaughter, a felony of the first degree, in violation of 2903.04A with a 1 and 3 year firearm specification attached with forfeiture of weapon also attached. Count 5, felonious assault, a felony of the second degree, in violation of 2903.11A1 with a 1 and 3 year firearm specification attached and forfeiture of weapon. Count 6, felonious assault, a felony of the second degree, in violation of 2903.11A2 with a 1 and 3 year firearm specification attached and forfeiture of weapon. Count 7, tampering with evidence, a felony of the third degree, in violation of 2921.12A1 with a 1 year firearm specification attached and forfeiture of weapon. Count 8, receiving stolen property, a felony of the fourth degree, in violation of 2913.51A with a 1 year firearm specification attached and forfeiture of weapon. Count 9, grand theft, a felony of the fourth degree, in violation of 2913.02A1 with a 1 year firearm specification attached and forfeiture of weapon. Count 10, improperly handling firearms in a motor vehicle, a felony of the fourth degree, in violation of 2923.16B with forfeiture of weapon attached. Count 11, improperly handling firearms in a motor vehicle, a felony of the fourth degree, in violation of 2923.16A with a 1 and 3 year firearm specification attached and forfeiture of weapon. Count 12, gross abuse of a corpse, a felony of the fifth degree, in violation of 2927.01B. Present from the beginning of the hearing has been the defendant, Mr. Fisher, along with his counsel. Counsel, please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. If it please the court, Jeff Richardson.
The interest of the state of Ohio is represented by the Assistant County Prosecutor. Would you please state your name for the record?
Good morning, Your Honor. Tim Troop.
Thank you. Mr. Troop, I understand that there is an opportunity here for a change of plea.
That's correct, Your Honor. That's what I've been advised by Mr. Richardson.
Would you please put that on the record?
Yes, Your Honor. This case has been fully pretried. All discovery has been provided. It's my understanding the defendant wishes to withdraw his former plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty to an amended indictment. The proposed resolution would be an amendment to count 1 to reflect the language contained in Revised Code 2903.041. That's captioned with reckless homicide. It's a felony of the third degree. Included with that count will be a 3-year firearm specification, as well as a forfeiture of a weapon specification. The state would move to dismiss the 1-year firearm specification on count 1. The defendant will also plead guilty to count 8, receiving stolen property. It's a felony of the fourth degree under 2913.51A. The state would nolly the firearm specifications and the forfeiture specifications of count 8. He'll plead guilty to count 9, grand theft. It's a felony of the fourth degree under 2913.02A1. The state would move to nolly firearm specifications and the forfeiture specifications. He'll also plead guilty to count 12 as charged, gross abuse of a corpse. It's a felony of the fifth degree under 2927.01B. In anticipation of the forthcoming plea to those 4 counts as outlined, the state will move the court to nolly all remaining counts. Additional agreement is that the defendant stipulates that he is not amenable to the care and rehabilitation of the juvenile justice system. No threats or promises were made to induce this change of plea, Your Honor. The defendant agrees to forfeit the weapon that was seized in this case to the Cleveland Division of Police.
I think even if he says it still goes back, and they still make their independent determination of amenability. We don't stop them from. We don't take away his right to do that.
That is what he's agreeing to do, Your Honor.
What I'm saying is that we've had this in the past, and you think that you've entered into a stipulation, and it doesn't work. They have a right to go through it over there, and they do still. Okay?
Correct, yes, Your Honor.
Right.
We will go back to juvenile court for an amenability hearing where we anticipate both parties will stipulate that he's not amenable, and the case will then be returned here to you for sentencing.
Okay, thank you. Counsel, is this your understanding of what the plea agreement is?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Troop has accurately represented the plea agreement to the court on Friday of last week, Your Honor. I met with Mr. Fisher. I did carefully and thoroughly explain to him the process of the plea colloquy, what his trial rights are, those he waives by entering a plea, and he is ready to go forward before you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Please state your name and your age.
Stephen Fisher, I'm 17.
What is the highest level of education you attained in school?
A senior. I'm a senior.
In high school? Did you graduate?
No, not yet.
Okay. Can you read, sir?
Yes.
Can you write?
Yes.
Are you currently under the influence of any drugs, alcohol, or medication that would adversely affect your ability to understand what's happening or to enter into a plea?
No.
Do you, in fact, understand what's happening today?
Yes.
Have any threats or promises been made to induce you to change your plea?
No.
Are you satisfied with the services of your lawyer?
Yes.
Are you currently on community control, probation, or parole?
No.
Are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes.
And do you have any professional licenses?
No.
All right, Mr. Fisher, even though your lawyer has already explained your rights to you, I must be certain that you understand all of your constitutional rights. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I need you to answer out loud and on the record. Do you understand that you are presumed innocent and that by entering a plea of guilty, you admit to the truth of the facts and to your full guilt?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to a trial, your choice of either a jury trial or a trial to this court, at which time the state must prove your guilt, and you're giving up that right?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to confront and cross-examine the witnesses that the state must bring forth at such a trial, and that you are giving up that right?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to subpoena witnesses to testify in your favor at a trial, and that you are giving up that right?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt at a trial, and that you are giving up that right?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right not to testify at the time of trial, which no one may use against you, and that you are giving up that right?
Yes.
Do you understand that the court could proceed with judgment and sentence you immediately after your plea?
Yes.
Based upon the statements of the prosecuting attorney as well as your lawyer, I believe it's your intention to plead guilty to the amended count 1, and that is reckless homicide with a 3-year firearm specification attached. That is a felony of the first degree.
Third degree, Your Honor.
Third?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I'm glad you did. I meant to ask the prosecutor. I have it down as a different, so thank you for that correction. That is a felony of the 3rd degree in violation of 2903.041. That carries a possible penalty from 9 months in prison up to 3 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. The 3-year firearm specification that is attached. You need something?
Yes, Your Honor. I just wanted to clarify. The felony of the 3rd degree reckless homicide is a high tier felony 3. It
Okay.
carries a possible sentence of 1 to 5 years.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The 3-year firearm specification is mandatory and must be served before any time on the underlying offense. And even though I said it was 9 to 36 months, I've been corrected. It is a high tier F3, which means that the term is from 1 year in prison up to 5 years in prison. And again, a fine of up to $10,000. Do you understand?
Yes.
I also believe it's your intention to plead guilty to count 8, receiving stolen property. That is a felony of the 4th degree in violation of 2913.51A. That carries a possible penalty from 6 months in prison up to 18 months in prison and a fine of up to $5,000. Do you understand?
Yes.
I also believe it's your intention to plead guilty to count 9, grand theft. That is a felony of the 4th degree in violation of 2913.02A1. That carries a possible penalty from 6 months in prison up to 18 months in prison and a fine of up to $5,000. Do you understand?
Yes.
And finally, I believe it's your intention to plead guilty to count 12, abuse of a corpse. That is a felony of the 5th degree in violation of 2927.01B. That carries a possible penalty from 6 months in prison up to 12 months in prison and a fine of up to $2,500. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, because these are multiple counts, I could run them one after the other. If I were to do that, you're looking at anywhere from, after you have served your 3 years for the gun specification, you're looking at anywhere from an additional 1 year up to an additional 9 years in prison and a fine of up to $22,500. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because of the gun specification, you will be going to prison. Upon your release from prison, the state of Ohio Adult Parole Authority, and not this court, shall have a mandatory minimum of 1 year up to a maximum of 3 years under what is called post-release control. If you fail to meet the terms and conditions of any post-release control supervision imposed upon you, then the Adult Parole Authority can modify and or extend your supervision and make it more restrictive. They can incarcerate you for up to half of the original sentence imposed by this court. They can charge you with a new offense called escape, another felony where you could face additional prison time. And if you commit a new crime while on post-release control, you could face the maximum penalty under the law for the new crime committed, a prison term of the greater of 1 year or the time remaining on post-release control, in addition to any time that you receive for the new felony. The PRC prison term must be served consecutively to any prison term that you receive on the new felony. If you enter a plea of guilty, this court can impose on you court costs, any mandatory fines, require the payment of restitution, supervision fees, and or the costs of your confinement. If you fail to timely pay your court costs and fees as ordered or according to a court-approved schedule, then you may be ordered to perform up to 40 hours of court community work service per month at the current rate of $10 per hour until the judgment is paid or the default in the schedule is brought into compliance. Each completed hour of court community work service will reduce your outstanding balance, and that hourly rate could change. Mr. Fisher, have any threats or promises been made to you other than what has been stated today in open court and on the record?
No.
Do you understand that there is no promise of a particular sentence?
Yes.
Counsel, have I complied with the requirements of Criminal Rule 11 on behalf of the state of Ohio?
Yes, Your Honor.
On behalf of the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the court is satisfied that Mr. Stephen Fisher has been informed of his constitutional rights, that he understands the nature of the charges, the effect of a plea, and the maximum penalty which may be imposed. The court further finds that Mr. Fisher's plea will be made knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. Mr. Fisher, how do you plead to the amended count 1, reckless homicide with a 3-year firearm specification attached.
Guilty.
Thank you. I accept your plea of guilty to this amended count 1 and find you guilty thereon. How do you plead to count 8, receiving stolen property?
Guilty.
Thank you. I accept your plea of guilty to count 8 and find you guilty thereon. How do you plead to count 9, grand theft?
Guilty.
Thank you. I accept your plea of guilty to count 9 and find you guilty thereon. How do you plead to count 12, abuse of a corpse?
Guilty.
Thank you. I accept your plea to count 12 and find you guilty thereon. Count 1 is further amended by nulling the 1-year firearm specification. Count 8 is amended by nulling the firearms specifications. Count 9 is amended by nulling the firearms specifications. Counts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 11 are nullied in their entirety. The state of Ohio is seeking the forfeiture of your weapon, of the weapon, which is a Smith & Wesson 9mm with serial number FZJ1138. Do you agree to forfeit any interest that you may have in that weapon to Cleveland Police Department?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Now, this matter is now referred to the probation department for a pre-sentence investigation report, but I think it's stayed, isn't that right, Anthony?
No, we have a sentencing and then it's stayed.
Got you. All right, and the sentencing date is set for May 22 at 10 a.m. Does that work for both counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, great.
The journal entry will reflect that he'll be transferred back to juvenile detention.
Yes.
Your Honor, thank you.
And then we'll bring him back on that morning.
Correct.
All right. Anything further on behalf of the state of Ohio?
Your Honor, I just would like the record to have the defendant agree that he is not amenable to the juvenile justice system.
All right.
It's an essential component of the plea.
All right. Thank you very much. The state of Ohio is requesting that you agree to be not amenable, but you also understand that I don't have jurisdiction over that. The juvenile court has jurisdiction, and they will be the final determiner of that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Anything further on behalf of the state of Ohio?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything further on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you back here May 22nd at 10 a.m. Thank you very much.
Jaiden Rose with 19 News. As we see the defendant there being taken off, 17-year-old Stephen Fisher. The last-minute request by the court that he not be shown since he is a juvenile. But as you just heard, what's going to happen is he has already pleaded guilty. As you see his family now being let out of the courtroom, they often do this. They make sure that the two families are separated and leave at separate times in cases like this. So you have a 17-year-old who has pleaded guilty to, instead of all 12 charges, and instead of the most important charge or the most serious charge, which was murder, count 1 was murder, they have amended that to reckless homicide. And he's already pleaded guilty to reckless homicide, also pleading guilty to count 8, receiving stolen property, count 9, that is grand theft auto, and count 12, as we lose our feed there, count 12, gross abuse of a corpse. The maximum sentence, even when you put in the gun specification, is 12 years. And there was a various amount of fine. I believe it was in excess of $20,000 if the judge gives him the max and sentences him to the max on each the max fine on each charge. Now, what has to happen now is, because he's still under the jurisdiction of the juvenile court system, is he will have to go back to the juvenile court system. He will have a hearing that shows he has pleaded guilty as an adult to adult charges. And they will have to, you kept hearing the word amend themselves, meaning he has agreed to not be sentenced as a juvenile in the juvenile court system, so that he can return to the Court of Common Pleas on May 22nd for that sentencing. The prosecutor wanted it on the record in court that he has agreed that he will not fight the fact that he has to go back to juvenile court and agree not to be sentenced there. And that was an important part of this plea bargain, that he wasn't simply sent back to juvenile, given a much lesser reduction in sentence for this case, and it moves on. But for now, the family of Jaiden Rose Rentas must now wait until the sentencing, May 22nd. Remember, in the state of Ohio, every victim's family is given a chance to make a victim impact statement before sentencing, to tell the judge how this has impacted their lives and what they are requesting as far as a sentence. We will, of course, have that on May 22nd, provided everything goes through and on time. And we'll have that for you here on our digital properties. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Watch for our 11 o'clock news coming up on CW43 and our noon news on Channel 19. I'm Dan DeRose with 19.